In this episode of the podcast, we're going to break down and debunk 5 pieces of cliche marriage advice.
Because all cliches are true.
Isn't that why they're cliches? They're always true.
They're all factual, 100%.
Okay, there might be some truths to these, so we're not going to just completely dismiss and throw. Well, some of them we are. Let's be honest.
Some of them are just complete crap.
Some of them are garbage, but we're going to actually kind of talk about the truths and the false pieces of each of these. Before we get into it, welcome to 12 Week Relationships. This is your place for better relationships in weeks, not years. My name is Pye.
I'm Dr. Glen.
Now, let's get straight into it. Let's start with number 1. You should always marry your best friend. What do you think on that one?
I like it. So if you marry a best friend that you're attracted to and you want to be intimate with, you have won the lottery, my friend.
I like it.
You have hit the home run, man.
Yeah, I like the kind of core message of this, which is like you should underneath a healthy long-term marriage is a strong friendship. You know, whether it is a best friendship, strong friendship, it doesn't really matter. I think people can have multiple best friends. But my issue with this is that most people tend to think that they're dating their best friend or that they're marrying their best friend when in reality they're not. They're caught in that honeymoon phase of it. They're caught in that place where like they just love spending every minute together and they feel like, oh, we have so much stuff to talk about and we're so close and I've never been with anyone like that before and this person's my best friend. In reality, it's just not true.
Well, how much of that do you feel is societal though? Like the society of like, this is the one and this is who you're supposed to be with forever, that encapsulates also being a best friend.
A big part of it is. A big part of it is the societal expectation of like this person that you're marrying has to be everything to you, right? In the past, it was okay that you were marrying someone that fulfilled a role in your life and you relied on a village for all the other things, like the other emotional needs and whatever it was, right? But today, the expectation that the person that you're marrying is everything. And so I feel like we are not only trapped in that honeymoon phase, we're also trying to convince ourselves that this person is everything because we're supposed to marry the best friend, the person that is everything. But for me, the sign that you're actually with your best friend is if you take away, because I like that idea of it. I like the idea of like underneath, I think that's critical, that underneath a marriage needs to be a healthy, long-term friendship. But the way that you know this is if you can subtract all the intimacy elements, the physical attraction, every bit, just think of that person as a friend. Answer this question honestly. Would you still spend time with them?
And if that answer is yes, then you've hit the home run, right? That's a grand slam.
Grand slam. You are marrying what could be a best friend.
But I think this is where the distinction lies. Like when you're with the best friend, because it takes like the sexes out of it and all these other components are out. So you get to be like the best version of yourself, right?
Yeah.
And I feel the line is when you're in an intimate relationship, because oftentimes you'll look at people like, why are they together? This doesn't make sense. Like look at the best friends that they hang out. Why aren't they attracted to that person? I feel the line is when it comes to intimate relationships, you're figuring out yourself, your wounds are coming out.
True.
And that's the basis of intimate relationships. So it's about working through your pains, helping the other person, building a connection and building a friendship. That is the basis of an intimate relationship where your best friend is just basically just your best friend. You get to be the best part of yourself.
Very true. And so often we end up marrying basically like our attachment wounds, our trauma, right? We end up marrying the person that is kind of, well, they're the person that is there to help us get through those issues or we help ourselves to get through those issues, but they're not necessarily a best friend,
the best friend.
Like once you solve those issues, how often do we see from clinical experience, once those issues get solved, they discover that there's nothing really there holding them together. They don't really share any similar core values. They don't share. And at that point, it's kind of their choice of whether they want to continue and work on this. And they can, but so often they resolve these personal issues only to realize that we have nothing in common. We don't share common interests. We don't share core values. We don't even share similar outlooks on life. They're just two completely different people that were together because of wounds.
And that encapsulates the difference between intimate relationships and best friends, because once you work through your wounds, then you make the decision, are we going to stay together or not?
Yeah.
Are we going to work this through? Are we going to try to cultivate something or not?
So, okay. So it sounds like we both like this one, with the exception of like, you really need to understand what is a best friend, what is a healthy friendship, and not just like kind of, I guess, throw it onto this relationship and kind of convince yourself that that is what it is.
I would also say, though, that if you do marry your best friend, that's a sign that you're really healthy. Like you don't really have issues to work through. And so that you're in that space that, yeah, you did marry your best friend. You are attracted to this person. That's a sign that you're mentally and emotionally in a really good place.
I like it. Well done, sir.
Thanks, man.
Okay, number 1, smashed out of the ballpark. To continue
Grand
with this,
slam. I love the analogy.
Continue with your analogy.
Slam dunk, touchdown.
All right.
Knockout in boxing. Submission in MMA.
Cool. We're good now.
Okay, all right.
We're number 2, never go to bed angry. What are your thoughts on that one?
I hate that one.
Yeah.
That one drives me crazy. And then when people try to follow that and then they're just more tired, they don't sleep, they have to go to work the next day, and you're just irritable all day. But we didn't go to bed angry. I mean, that's ridiculous.
This one's pure garbage. Just there's so many levels of this that make it garbage, but never go to bed angry. How is that even a realistic expectation? If you expect your marriage to last a lifetime, what is the possibility that in this lifetime, you will never go to bed angry?
Well, if you married your best friend, you would never go. I'm just going to go.
Even if you married your best friend, you're going to get into some arguments from time to time. There's going to be conflict. So what is the likelihood that you can make it your entire life without ever going to bed angry?
It's impossible.
So then why is this such a cliche piece of advice that we hear it constantly when we know it's not even close to a realistic expectation?
I mean, I think the premise is that you should try to solve your problems before sleeping.
Yes, that's the key word, right? Try to solve it. And I don't even think it's like if you were to take it this way, never go to bed angry is really more like try to resolve problems when they happen. Done. It's not about when you're going to bed. It's not about what time of day it is. Because if we fight at noon, it doesn't mean that we should wait until the evening to try to resolve it, right? It means that, yes, make an attempt to resolve something when it happens.
And then even if you do go to bed angry and you guys both acknowledge, okay, we're both upset, we're not in a good space, let's sleep this off and revisit it, that's still a good problem-solving space.
For sure. Well, that's the other piece to this, right? Like, let's say that we get that. Let's say we have that argument at noon. We attempt to resolve it, but we're both too heated. When you actually get emotionally, physically aroused from an argument, your body goes into a nervous system response. You know this better than anybody. And how long does it take to come down? 4, 6 hours? What is
yeah,
that time?
I mean, if you're in it, it could go on for hours and hours, 4 to 6 hours.
That's once you have space to cool off, right? Once you actually can process. But if you just stay in it, it just keeps going.
It's going to fester all day. It could go on for days and weeks.
So even if we tried to resolve it at noon, we might realize that, hey, we're just going around in circles and we're not getting anywhere because we're both in that fight or flight type nervous system response and we can't even get anywhere. And you realize that we need to take a break. And that break can be 6 hours, 8 hours before both of you had time to calm down. Now, let's say that we had that argument at night, but we believe that we should never go to bed angry. Then what are we going to do? We're going to just continue fighting through the night.
We are going to stay up all night if necessary until we resolve this problem.
And then the next day, well, if you have children, that's going to be a cluster F. We know we have work and other obligations, and it's just going to impact that. And then you're going to be even more aggravated and more likely to be upset with one another because why did you keep me up all night?
But if we follow this analogy, we put love first, and then so therefore it should all work itself out.
Yeah. Love always conquers.
Love conquers everything. I mean,
another one we got to debunk. Love conquers all.
Oh, I mean, that's crazy, right? You're tired, you're mad, your nervous system is on high alert, you're not sleeping, and then now you got to take care of responsibilities. It's going to just make you more irritable and you're probably going to fight more.
Well, that's exactly what we see in clinical experience, right? From case studies to clients, the people that genuinely believe you should never go to bed angry, they stay up, they fight, and they make the problem worse. That is the most common scenario for this.
Well, the other thing too, like you brought up, is if you're fighting at noon and you have 6 to 8 hours to kind of cool off, that gives you time to be introspective.
For sure.
And just be like, what is my contribution to what took place? And I want to take ownership of that before I engage with my partner. And now you're just in a much healthier space.
So On this one, it seems like, well, I'm personally tossing 90% of this out, and I'm going to keep the 10%. That is, you should attempt to resolve arguments when they happen. If that's not possible, take a break, come at it in a healthier space, whether that's today, whether it's tomorrow, it's fine.
Yeah. And then instead of never go to bed angry, it's let's be introspective before we sleep and we'll revisit it tomorrow.
But we get that that's not like nearly as easy to say in a wedding speech, you know.
Oh, but
in a wedding toast, nobody wants to be like, okay, be introspective and take 6 hours and no. Just never go to bed angry.
Never go to bed
sounds
angry.
Great.
Love conquers all.
A toast.
You guys are going to make it last forever.
To the bride.
Because you guys are best friends.
Okay. Next one. Number 3. What do you think about happy wife, happy life, or happy dude, happy mood?
I like happy dude, happy mood.
Is there bias in that?
No, not at all. No, I think that's ridiculous. Like, I was told that my whole life. Like, as long as you make your wife happy, everything will work itself out, right? And I think there was like that Chris Rock joke where he's like, you have to slap yourself in the face every morning and say, I'm going to be miserable, but I'm going to do everything I can to try to make my wife happy. Like, that's just terrible advice because you're sacrificing everything. You cannot make another person happy.
Correct.
And 2, in your attempt to do so, you're just making yourself sick and vulnerable and you're just wearing yourself out.
Yeah, one of the big things that you said in that line was, I can't make you happy, right? Your happiness is your choice. And there's this crazy, there was a neuroscience, and I hope it's accurate, but I saw this like little animation of like, what does happiness look like in the brain? And it basically shows like one cell like crawling along a strand, like end over end. And it's like, this is actually what happiness looks like, is this one little thing like crawling over this line. You're in control of your happiness. I'm in control of my happiness. I can do things to serve you, and we should do things to serve one another in a relationship, but I cannot control your happiness. And if it's my job to keep you happy, again, that is completely unrealistic. And yet so many of us adopt this, not just in our marriages, but in all the relationships around us. We're not happy unless the people around us are happy. And what does that mean? What is the likelihood that the people around us are going to have some sort of a problem with us or with something, and they're going to be unhappy at any point in time? Well, it's pretty damn high.
No, it's true.
So if I'm taking that upon myself, I'm never going to be happy because, well, the stars really have to align to be able to get to that place. But even in a marriage, you can have so many things going on, and I can be sensitive to those things. But if you're depressed, it doesn't matter what I do to make you happy. You're depressed.
Well, the other thing is, with that mentality, you're making marriage a job, which
Correct.
Basically you're saying like, I got to go to work. And when I come back from work, now it's my duty to work for you and make you happy. That's just a recipe for disaster. And then where's your fulfillment? Where do you get to be your own individual and find peace and find your happiness?
The really scary part about this to me is that, in a healthy relationship, we are going to both mutually serve one another. And the things that we do for each other are going to lift one another up and whatnot. That is healthy and that is normal. I'm going to do those things, not in sacrificing myself. I'm going to take care of myself, my emotional health, and then I'm going to serve you, and you're going to do the same thing, right? Kind of both taking care of ourselves, bringing the best version of ourselves to the table, and then serving the other person. That's healthy. But imagine happy wife, happy life, or happy dude, happy mood in an unhealthy relationship where you have one person that's potentially narcissistic, manipulative, or depressed, or they have other mental health issues. They have anxiety. They have things that are beyond your control. And yet you believe in this. You will literally lose yourself entirely.
You're going to make yourself sick.
Yes, you will make yourself sick. You will lose every bit of who makes you who you are is going to be gone in the service of this other person. And it won't be until you've reached that kind of critical failure point that you recognize what's happening.
Yeah, it's almost like when you're like, you've reached your limit and then you're just like, I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
That's actually the sign of health, because now you're starting to reclaim your independence.
It won't look like it, but it is. You'll have a breakdown, which is like the first step towards getting better.
Which is your breakthrough, which is actually you're waking up like, oh, this is unhealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like wake up. And you see this in like, with the couples that we have, like some of them, like the spouses are like, they have that mentality. Why don't you want to listen to me? Why don't you want to be my therapist? Yeah. Why don't you should just want to do this for me. And then they're like, I'm trying, but I'm tired too.
Yeah.
And I have needs too, but happy wife, happy life. And you could see the mentality there. And it's a very self-destructive mentality to have.
And it's so, to me, it's not only strange, it's almost like oxymoronish that I'm going to make that into an adjective if that's possible. But it's completely insane, because you look at any other practical notion of this idea, right? You get onto an airplane, you put your own oxygen mask on first, before even helping children. In life, we look up to the people that have first succeeded. In every arena, health, you look to the people that have achieved it first for themselves. We always look to the ones that have done something before we seek their help and guidance on something, right? Yet in a relationship, we don't think that way. We don't think that I need to take care of myself first. I need to make sure that I am emotionally secure and I'm happy and I'm good. I'm in a good emotional place. Then I should be helping and serving my relationship. Instead, we think this is the place where I need to sacrifice everything for the one that I'm with.
Because most people view romantic relationships in this wounded space. And that analogy that you gave, if you're full, then what you give is full. If you're empty, then what you give is empty.
Yeah.
And then I just want to say one last thing. If you have that mentality, how much do you actually care about your partner? If you're expecting that in return and you're saying, like, I should receive all this and I deserve all this, do you really care about your partner then?
Mm-hmm.
So,
you're just doing it out of a sort of misguided expectation of what they should be doing for you too, right?
You're caring out of your own convenience.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Next we have, you must love yourself first.
I like that one.
Yeah, I do too.
That one's
I just wanted to present it.
I thought you were going to debunk that one the way you were saying it. I'm like, oh, this is actually, you do need to love yourself first. Self-love, understand who you are, understand what you bring to a relationship, the qualities that you have. And if you can, then you're opening the door to receive love in a healthy way.
Yeah, this kind of is a tag on to just that last concept we discussed, right? Loving yourself first is critical. Although I would say this, I don't think a lot of people understand what this actually means. I think we can often understand as like self-love, self-care. We can tend to think of this as your needs don't matter. Mine come first, always. And I would argue that that's not true. There's plenty of moments where I'm going to sacrifice the things that I want to do at any one particular moment because I need to serve my partner, I need to serve my family, I need to do those types of things. What we're really talking about here is like your emotional health, your physical health. Self-care, self-love is generally doing the things that you find difficult, but that are good for you. That's self-care. It's not, I mean, it can be getting a massage. It could be taking some time off. It can be, a relaxing trip, but it's not really the luxuries of like, I'm going to buy this for myself and I'm going to do this. To me, self-care and self-love is doing the things that make you healthy that are not the easiest. It's meditation, exercising, making sure that I'm taking my vitamins, doing the things like I don't necessarily consider them fun, but it's what makes me healthy.
Yeah. I mean, taking care of yourself and then also living an authentic life that is true to you.
Yeah.
So I think part of that is like letting go of like what society tells you or what you're told or how you are raised. Like you got to be true to yourself. And if you're being that version of yourself, then you're being healthy. That is self-love. And then owning your wounds. What are the things that I need to work on in a relationship? What are the things that come out and you're working on those things? That to me is self-love.
Absolutely. That is self-love, is saying like, this is my trauma and what do I need to do to get help with that? Whether it's seeing a therapist, whether it's going through a program like ours, going and studying books, whatever it might be. But again, it's not the idea of like self-love is buying the luxury sports car or going on an extravagant trip. Not really.
Yeah, I mean, you can pamper yourself, but that's not the goal. Is to spoil yourself and just pamper yourself all the time.
Yeah, and the goal isn't to push, like if you're my partner, it's not to push your needs always to the backside. It's to say like, I need to do the baseline for me. I need to first feed the engine. Then I can support our family and support you.
No, I agree. Like, when you're getting married or if you're in the self-love space, it becomes about having a partner, helping that person grow. If you do want a family, doing that but most people don't even think that way. They're just like, I'm going to be fulfilled. Mm-hmm. It's going to take care of my needs and everything will work itself out.
Yeah. Okay. We got that one. So I think we do agree that you must love yourself first. Self-love is absolutely critical. The key there is just to understanding exactly what that is.
For sure. Growth, development, enduring, exercising, doing all the things that you need to do for yourself.
Jiu-jitsu for me is major self-love.
No, I know.
There's something about choking people out that makes me a better dad. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. And getting choked out. It happens more than I'm able to. It happens to me more than I'm able to dish it out.
It
but
creates
there's something
humility.
about that.
Humility, growth.
The physical strain for me is something. I have ADHD, and the physical strain of just going and doing something that's very difficult and mentally taxing is what allows me to like be normal during other times. I don't know what that is, but I've identified that is very important to my daily self-care routine.
That's good, man.
Anyway.
But people thought you were a jiu-jitsu, was it a black belt in jiu-jitsu when we first came on? Because you were talking about it so much.
I mean, I love it.
I think one of the comments was like, you have like a psychologist and a jiu-jitsu black belt expert.
I am much better in the realm of psychology, basically any other realm than jiu-jitsu. I'm only a lowly blue belt.
I feel like just like calling out all like jiu-jitsu experts right now, like he's challenging you all right now.
No. I'm the first person to sit on a mat and be like, you're going to kick my ass. Just go easy.
He's calling all of you out right now.
Yeah, that's definitely not what I'm doing. But you know what? Before we get to our last one,
yes,
this is a great time to say, if you guys haven't checked out our guide yet, be sure to download it. It is completely free. A lot of you have asked about our core value focused therapy and like what we do, what are core values. We made this awesome guide. It's kind of a workbook that's going to take you through it, help you to identify your own core values. And it gets you into our newsletter as well, where you guys can learn about what we do. We send out awesome tips and insights, tips and insights each week.
I like that, Tweety Bird.
Yeah, tips.
Yeah, and no spam.
Anyway, jump into that. We'll have links in the description of the video. You can also find it at 12weekrelationships.com / what was the / You know what? Just go to Instagram and you'll find the link right there in our bio. Okay, number 5. You marry your opposite, or the idea that opposites attract. We are cosmically pulled together like magnets.
I hate this one too.
You don't like opposites attract?
Opposites do not attract. You have compliments. Compliments meaning like, I think people, they mistake it for like, well, if this person's really talkative and the other person's more reserved, that's opposites. It's more of a compliment in personality because they probably have the same values. They have a similar life. So in terms of their communication styles, maybe it looks opposite, but there's just a complementary lifestyle. Opposite means like you go to church, I smoke crack, and we come back together and we're like, dude, opposites attract, right? Like, I mean, that makes no sense.
Thanks for saying that. I'm the one that goes to church and you're the one that smokes
and then we
crack.
come back and I had a whole experience too, man. Let's talk it out. Like, it makes no sense. That's opposites attract.
Yeah, I don't like opposites attract, namely because of what you said. It kind of oversimplifies the idea. And it makes it, like you said, compliments are nice. Like when one person is very A-type and the other person is more like, I'm good to like let you take the reins. And one person's talkative, the other person's a little bit more quiet. One person's like very charismatic and outgoing. The other person's more reserved. Those are compliments, but being opposite means that your values are actually different. Like we don't share, our core values are opposite. And that is not what makes a successful relationship at all.
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
So what you typically find in a healthy relationship is that we have like little compliments in our personality, like these little differences, but in a healthy relationship, our values are aligned. Who we are, what we're trying to be, our beliefs, our, approach and perspective, those things are aligned. And these subtle differences in personality traits, those are the things that might be different or they might be complementary to one another. But we are by no means opposites.
Exactly. So once again, personality traits, and that's where people say opposites attract. He's quiet, she's more talkative.
Yeah.
No, that's not it. That's a compliment versus lifestyle, what you're pursuing, what you're trying to accomplish in your life. If those things are divergent, this relationship isn't going to work out.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to kind of imagine this, you can very much get an idea of what we're trying to say by just making a comparison. Like just visualize for a moment, you're on a subway car. And imagine 2 people. So you have 2 men standing there. One's 50 years old in a suit and he's got his wedding ring on. You can tell that he's got a family because he's looking at pictures of his kids. And the other one is 25 years old, sitting in a full leather getup. Looks like, he just got off a motorcycle or owns a motorcycle. He's probably in a band, and he's currently looking at like different music.
He's in chaps.
He's in
Let's just add
assless chaps.
Yeah, there you go.
Illegal on the subway, but that's fine. Don't worry about it. What is the likelihood that these two men are going to start a conversation, are going to create a relationship? They are literally like, visual opposites of one another. The likelihood would be very slim, right? Because they're going to perceive that the other person is not relatable to them. Now, they might be right or wrong in that. Maybe assless chaps guy has kids and is, older than he looks. I don't know. They might be wrong, but they're going to make that judgment of like, we have nothing in common. We are actually opposites. And when we're actually opposites, that pushes us apart because we want relatability in the people that we create relationships with. We want to be similar. We don't want to be opposites.
Yeah, so using that analogy, they would get along great, right?
Yeah.
Oh, look, you have your assless chaps, man. That's awesome. Tell me about it.
Actually attracted.
Pictures of your kids. Oh, I want to learn about your family. Like, then that would mean that these two would always get along, and it would be a really healthy relationship.
But wouldn't that be kind of cool though, if the cosmic, forces pushed these two together like magnets, and the dude just sees assless chaps, he's like, "Hey,
this is my opposite.
Best friends.
Let's do it."
And the other guy's like, "I've always wanted kids. Show me your pictures of your kids." And then they have a beautiful relationship.
I could see it working now that you mention it. Yeah. See, you're already an assless. You're halfway there to making kids, man. It's going to work out.
All right, my friends, I feel like this one is one of those episodes that we're going to need to do many, many follow-ups to. We're going to have to address more cliche marriage advice, cliche dating advice, cliche divorce advice, cliche friendship advice. We're going to have to hit all of these. So if you guys like this topic, let us know. You guys can send us a DM on Instagram. You guys can comment on the video on YouTube. Let us know what you think about the topic. And in the meantime, well, outside of downloading the guide, if you want to, support the podcast, jump onto iTunes, leave a review for 12 Big Relationships. We'd love to see what you guys think.
Hopefully a 5-star review.
Hopefully. Yeah. But we put this out there, so what happens, happens.
Whatever happens, happens. It is what it is.
It's like, it is what it is.
It's not what it's not.
What happens in Vegas stays in podcast
comments.
Okay, bye.
See ya.